The worst part about revenge isn't planning it, it's waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I realized that on Christmas Eve, watching my father Edgar drain his fourth whiskey while explaining to our dinner guests exactly why my little website hobby would never amount to anything. My name is Sloane, and I'm ready to burn my family's world to the ground. Really? She just plays on the computer all day. He chuckled, swirling his glass. Thank God we have Wyatt here, carrying on the real family legacy in med school. My brother chimed in, adjusting his designer watch when I knew had cost more than most people earn in a month. Someone has to make the family proud, right, sis? I gave a tight smile and poured another sip of wine. The crystal stemware probably cost more than what they assumed I made in a month. The irony wasn't lost on me. Everything in this house, from the imported marble countertops to the pretentious artwork, was paid for by my little hobby. Let Sloane dear, help me with dessert, my mother, Vivian said, her voice that familiar edge of forced cheerfulness. In the kitchen, she plated tiramisu while shooting me anxious glances. You know your father doesn't mean anything by it. He just wants what's best for you. Like emptying my trust fund without telling me, I muttered before I could stop myself. I'd discovered the transfer records just hours earlier, buried in paperwork. Cecilia, our family lawyer, accidentally included me on. My mother froze, her color draining. Who told you about that? Does it matter? Were you ever going to, sweetheart? She whispered. We needed it for Wyatt's tuition. And some investments your father made. She wrung her hands, the pearl bracelet catching the light. It's for the family's future. My future was in that trust fund. Don't be dramatic. You have your little online business. Wyatt needs what? Another Rolex? A third car? Lower your voice, she hissed. The wolves will hear you. From the dining room, our neighbor's Anders' booming laughter echoed, followed by my father's performative chuckles. I envisioned them congratulating themselves on their business savvy while my brother basked in their approval. Fine, I said, picking up the dessert tray. Wouldn't want to ruin the golden child's moment. Back at the table, I served dessert with practiced poise, playing the beautiful daughter my family expected. My father barely acknowledged me, too busy regaling everyone with Wyatt's alleged med school triumphs. Top of his class, he boasted, though my own research proved otherwise. Following in the footsteps of real professionals, not like these internet influencers Sloane wastes time on. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. If only they knew those same influencers had helped me build a digital marketing empire worth millions, or that their looks lifestyle was funded entirely by my success. Every credit card swipe in this house, that was my money. Actually, Dad, I began, but then Ruby's warning text flashed. Don't show your hand too soon. Wait for the right moment. Ruby, my business partner, and the only one who knew the truth, was right. Tonight wasn't the night. Let them enjoy their last comfortable Christmas. Never mind, I murmured, excusing myself from the table. In my childhood bedroom, I opened my encrypted laptop, the one they thought was only for blogging, and logged into my company's secure server. Rows of luxury brand revenue streams scrolled across the screen, each figure far beyond anything my father had seen in his banking career. A new email from Cecilia appeared, more documents detailing the trust fund transfer and the unmistakable evidence of my father's forgery of my signature. The final betrayal. My phone buzzed again. You okay? Remember, revenge is a dish best served cold. Ruby's text read, time to turn down the temperature, I replied. I gazed out the window at our sprawling estate, glittering in Christmas lights. They had no idea their entire, comfortable world was built on my success, my generosity, and my silence. But silence had never served me well. I opened my banking app and began setting up automated withdrawals, small ones first, nothing that would raise alarms. By the time they noticed, it would be too late. The house of cards they'd built on my foundation was about to collapse, one declined card at a time. Sloane. My mother's voice drifted up the stairs. Your father's about to give his annual Christmas toast. I smiled, shutting my laptop. Let him toast. Let them celebrate. They have no idea what's coming. You know this is going to destroy them, right? Ruby's voice filled my head. She'd joined me, settling into the office 40 floors above Manhattan, where our words couldn't be overheard. They destroyed themselves, I said, pulling up the latest expense report on my tablet. Last month alone, $42,000 on entertainment. That's my money. They're burning through it. Show me everything, she urged, leaning forward, in her designer blazer, sunlight glinting. I scrolled. Private club memberships $15,000 monthly. Wyatt's apartment $6,000. Mom's spa treatments $2,000. Dad's wine collection. I laughed bitterly. I couldn't even look at the numbers without feeling rejected. They still had no idea it was all coming from my company. To them, I was just a girl playing online for pocket money. Meanwhile, I was running one of the nation's largest luxury digital marketing firms. I stood, moving to the window. You should have seen Dad at dinner. How disappointed he is that I never lived up to my potential. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Darling, the country club declined our cards again. So embarrassing. Can you check with the bank? Must be their error. The moment had arrived. It's starting. I showed Ruby the message. I canceled their club membership yesterday, I said softly. Sloan. Ruby's tone warned me. Remember when we were starting out, and you said you wanted to prove them wrong? This feels more like punishment than proof. Her words echoed a memory. I was 16, showing my father my first website design. He'd barely looked at it, before launching into that familiar lecture. Why can't you be more like Wyatt? Or at least Wyatt knows what he wants. They never saw me, never believed in me. Ruby joined me at the window. So, she said, show them now. Tell them about the company. Everything you've built. It's too late for that. I pulled up the forged trust fund documents. They stole my future to fund his. They don't deserve to know anything. My phone buzzed as time from Wyatt. Hey sis, weird question, but did Mom and Dad say anything about money troubles? My rent bounced. Watch this, I told Ruby as I typed back. No idea. Maybe ask Dad. It'll pass. Enjoying this? She asked. Maybe a little. I wasn't proud, but the satisfaction was intoxicating. Want to know what'll hurt the most? In about an hour, their credit cards will suddenly have new, very low limits. Right on cue, my phone exploded with notifications. First, my mother, emergency, all cards declined at Bergdorf's, call me. Then my father, family meeting tonight, non-negotiable. Finally Wyatt, Dad's having a meltdown. What's going on? Ruby shook her head. You know they're going to start digging. What if they trace everything back to you? Let them try. I'd spent years building firewalls between my public and private lives. They'd have to admit they'd been living off my money first. Can you imagine my father confessing that his disappointment of a daughter had been bankrolling his entire lifestyle? And what about Cecilia? The family lawyer knows everything. Cecilia's bound by client confidentiality, I said, smiling grimly. Besides, she's seen the forged documents. She knows exactly what they did with my trust fund. My phone rang. My mother again. I let it go to voicemail. You should at least answer, Ruby suggested. Maintain the illusion a little longer. Instead, I picked up my tablet and pulled up the family house deed. You know what would really maintain the illusion? If I list the house for sale right now. As trust fund executor, I have that right, Sloan. Ruby grabbed my arm. That's their home. No, I corrected her. That's my property that they've been living in rent-free. And I think it's time they understood exactly what playing around on computers can buy you these days. I hit the button to contact our real estate division. Within minutes, the wheels were in motion. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from my father. Your mother's in tears. I hope you're happy with yourself. I typed back. Sorry. Busy with my little hobby. Can't talk right now. Ruby sighed heavily. I hope you know what you're doing. Trust me, I said, watching as the first for sale notification went live. I know exactly what I'm doing. The real question was, did they? The repo men came for Wyatt's BMW on a sunny Tuesday morning. I watched from my apartment window across town as they loaded it onto a flatbed truck, my brother gesturing wildly in his medical scrubs, while the neighbors pretended not to stare. My phone started ringing immediately. How could you let this happen? Wyatt's voice cracked with rage. I'm going to be late for my rotation. Let what happen. I kept my voice innocent. I thought Dad handled all your car payments. He did. I don't know what's going on, but fix it. Sorry, little brother. My hobby doesn't pay enough to help with luxury cars. The line went dead. I counted down from 10 and right on schedule. My mother called. The country club, she whispered, mortification dripping from every word. We were hosting the charity committee luncheon and the cards, Sloan. It was humiliating. Mrs. Wolf had to cover the bill. That sounds awful, Mom. Maybe cut back on the charity lunches for a while. Cut back. She sounded scandalized. What would people think? They might think you're living beyond your means. Silence crackled over the line. Then, your father wants to speak with you, Sloane. My father's voice was tight with controlled anger. We're meeting with Cecilia this afternoon. I expect you to be there. Can't I have work? This isn't a request. 3 o'clock. He hung up before I could respond. I smiled, opening my laptop to check the time of my actual 3 o'clock. A video call with luxury brands in Milan worth more than my father's annual salary. At 3:15, I texted, sorry, stuck at work, fill me in later. The response came from Cecilia herself. Sloane, as your family's lawyer, I strongly advise you to attend this meeting. There are serious matters to discuss. I replied, send me the documents to review. 10 minutes later, my inbox pinged. I opened Cecilia's email, scanning through financial statements and legal notices. Then I saw it buried in the middle of a trust fund document. My father's attempt at forging my signature. It wasn't even a good forgery. He'd spelled my middle name wrong. My phone buzzed again. Wyatt, Dad's losing it. Says we might have to sell the house. What the hell is happening? I switched to my secure email and sent Cecilia a simple message. Please review page 47, paragraph 3. Signature line. That's not my handwriting. The response was immediate. Come to my office now. I took my time getting there, stopping for coffee and watching through the glass as my family paced Cecilia's conference room. When I finally walked in, the tension was thick, enough to cut. Nice of you to join us, my father snapped. Sorry, busy earning pocket money. I sat down, noting how my mother wouldn't meet my eyes. Cecilia cleared her throat. We need to discuss the trust fund irregularities. Irregularities. My father's face reddened. A simple transfer to help Wyatt's education. A transfer I never authorized, I interrupted, with a forged signature. The room went silent. Wyatt looked between our father and me, confusion crossing his face. What transfer? Your sister's trust fund, Cecilia explained carefully. It was emptied 8 months ago. The signatures appear questionable. Questionable. I pulled out my phone, displaying my real signature from other documents. Let's compare, shall we? Now see here, my father started, but Cecilia cut him off. Edgar, I advise you not to speak further without separate representation. My mother burst into tears. We needed the money. Your father's investments were failing, I finished. So, you stole my inheritance to cover your mistakes. We did not steal, my father began. Fraud, then, I suggested. Shall we ask Cecilia which word she prefers legally? Wyatt stood up suddenly. This is insane. Dad, tell her she's wrong. But our father's silence spoke volumes. The house is in the trust's name, Cecilia continued. Given these circumstances, you can't sell it. My mother whispered, where would we live? I stood up, smoothing my designer dress worth more than their monthly mortgage payment. Maybe it's time you started living within your actual means. Your actual means, my father spat, are nothing without family support. Remember that. I laughed, sharp and cold. Are you sure about that? My phone buzzed, warning me not to reveal too much, too soon. But watching their faces, seeing the first cracks form in their perfect facade, I couldn't resist. Check your email, I told Cecilia. I've sent over some additional documents about where that trust fund money really went. Spoiler alert, it wasn't all for medical school. Wyatt went pale. I headed for the door, pausing only to say, by the way, the house listing goes live tomorrow. I'd start packing. Behind me, my mother started sobbing again. But, for the first time in years, the sound didn't make me feel guilty at all. The first potential buyers toured the house while my family was still living in it. I watched through the security cameras I'd installed years ago as my mother tried to maintain her composure, offering coffee to strangers, examining her soon-to-be former home. This is cruel, Ruby said, watching over my shoulder in my office. Cruel was stealing my trust fund. I switched camera views, seeing my father in his study, frantically making phone calls. Cruel was making me feel worthless for 15 years. My phone lit up with Wyatt's name. I put it on speaker. You have to stop this, he pleaded. Mom's having anxiety attacks. Dad can't sleep. Just tell us what you want. I want the truth, I replied, about everything, including your gambling debts. The line went silent for a moment. How did you? I know about the underground poker games, the sports betting, the loans you took out using my trust fund as collateral. Should I continue? You don't understand, he whispered. I got in over my head. Dad said he'd handle it with my money. It was a family emergency. No, I corrected him. It was your emergency, and now it's your problem. I hung up just as Cecilia's number flashed on my screen. Your father is threatening legal action, she said without preamble. For what? Selling property I legally own? He's claiming emotional distress, financial sabotage. Sloan, he's desperate. I laughed. Good. This isn't a game. He's talking about exposing your business practices on social media. That made me sit up straighter. Ruby shot me a concerned look. What exactly does he think he knows? I asked carefully. He's convinced your income must be illegal. Says he'll prove you're running some kind of digital scam. I pulled up my company's public relations protocol on my second monitor. Let him try, Sloan. No, really, let him. I've got 15 years of documented success, contracts with Fortune 500 companies, and a spotless business record. What's he got? Forged documents and gambling debts. After hanging up, I turned to Ruby. Think it's time for phase 2. You mean revealing yourself as the CEO? That's going nuclear. Not yet. I pulled up my banking app, but maybe it's time to freeze the last of their credit lines. Ruby grabbed my wrist. Wait, what if they retaliate? Really retaliate? Your father has connections. Had connections. I corrected her before I started canceling country club memberships and calling in loans. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We know what you're doing. Stop now, or everyone learns the truth about your company. DC. Ruby pointed at my screen. Getting desperate. Could I forwarded the text to our legal team. Let them dig. Every rock they turn over will just expose more of their own lies. The security feed showed a new scene: my mother crying in the kitchen while Mrs. Wolf awkwardly patted her shoulder. I turned up the volume. It's just terrible, my mother sobbed. First the cards, then Wyatt's car, now the house. I don't understand what we did wrong. Mrs. Wolf's response was unexpected. Perhaps it's time to ask Sloan for help. My mother's head snapped up. Sloan, she can barely support herself with that internet thing she does. Are you sure about that? Mrs. Wolf's voice was careful. My husband says she's quite successful in digital marketing, something about luxury brands. I watched my mother's face change as the first seed of doubt took root. That's impossible. She just posts things online. Vivian, darling, when was the last time you actually asked your daughter about her work? The camera caught my mother's stricken expression before she fled the room. Well, Ruby said quietly, that's one way for them to find out. My phone lit up again. My father, whatever game you're playing, it ends now. I'm going public with everything I know about your business dealings. I typed back, funny, I was just about to do the same with yours. His response came quickly, you're bluffing. I sent him a single screenshot, bank records showing exactly where my trust fund money had really gone, not to medical school, but to cover gambling debts and failed investments. The security feed showed him receiving it, his face draining of color. This could get ugly, Ruby warned. It already is ugly. I stood up, gathering my things. Where are you going? Home, I said, checking my lipstick in my phone's reflection. I think it's time for a family meeting, a real one. Be careful, Ruby called after me. Cornered animals bite hardest. I stepped into the elevator, watching the floor numbers descend. She was right. This was the dangerous part. But I'd spent 15 years being careful, being quiet, being underestimated. I was done being any of those things. I found them all in the living room, huddled around my father's laptop like survivors around a campfire. Their heads snapped up when I walked in, designer heels clicking against the marble floors they couldn't afford. You've got some nerve showing up here, my father growled. It's still technically my house. I settled into my favorite armchair. Nice social media post, by the way. Calling me a fraud was a bold choice. Wyatt jumped up. You're destroying this family. No, your gambling debts did that. I pulled out my phone, displaying his betting history. Shall we discuss the $500,000 you lost last month alone? He collapsed back onto the sofa, face ashen. My mother gasped. Wyatt, tell me that's not true. It was all true. I kept scrolling fake checks, maxed out cards, forged transcripts. Fake, my mother whispered. But you're top of your class, she pleaded. He's on academic probation, I corrected. Has been for months. The trust fund didn't pay tuition. It paid bookies. My father stood, towering over me. You think you can come in here and what? Tell the truth, I said, holding his gaze. Someone should. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Xander Wolf's silver hair. Perfect timing. Let him in, Mom, I said. He should hear this too. Don't you dare, my father began, but Xander was already inside. Edgar, Xander said coolly, just saw your post accusing Sloane's company of fraud. Thought I'd stop by and clear up the confusion. My father's face drained. This is a private family matter. Is it? Xander sat on the couch. Publicly accusing one of the top digital marketing CEOs of fraud seems public. Silence. CEO. Wyatt whispered. Oh yes, Xander smiled. Your sister's little hobby handles half the luxury brands in Europe. My firms tried partnering with her for years. I watched as reality shattered their illusions. My mother sank into a chair, posture breaking. That's impossible, my father said weakly. She just posts things online. She built a 9-figure company, Xander corrected. Really, Edgar, did you never wonder how you afforded all this? He gestured around the room. We paid for it ourselves. Through accounts I controlled, I cut in. Every loan, every credit card, every investment, my company, my money. Wyatt turned green. The gambling debts, covered by me. Until now. My father lunged for his laptop. I'll delete the post. Too late. I held up my phone. My PR team already responded with full documentation of our success and your fraud. As if on cue, his phone rang. Then my mother's, then Wyatt's. The country club board, my mother whispered, staring at her screen. They're revoking our membership. The hospital. Wyatt choked. They want to discuss my academic status. My father's phone kept buzzing. The bank, the investors, everyone. Amazing how fast people run from scandal, Xander observed. Especially financial scandal. You planned this, my father hissed, pointing at me with a shaking hand. No, I stood, smoothing my dress. You did. Every insult, every theft. Every time you chose him over me. I pointed at Wyatt. You built this house of cards. I'm just letting it fall. My mother's voice was small. Where will we go? What will we do? Not my problem anymore. I headed for the door. The house needs to be empty by Friday. The new owners are eager to move in. You can't leave us with nothing, Wyatt shouted. I turned one last time. Nothing. You mean like what you left me when you stole my trust fund? Funny how karma works. Xander followed me out. On the front steps, he spoke. Well, that was spectacular. It's not over, I said, watching them implode through the window. They'll try something else. They always do. Of course. Xander's smile was grim. The real question is, are you ready for what comes next? My phone buzzed. An anonymous threat to expose everything. Let them try, I said, sliding into my car. I've got nothing left to hide. But as I drove away, Ruby's warning echoed in my head. Cornered animals bite hardest, and my family was cornered publicly. The fallout was spectacular. Like a train wreck in slow motion. My parents moved in with my aunt in New Jersey, a humiliation worse than bankruptcy. Wyatt disappeared to rehab, though Ruby's sources spotted him in Vegas, chasing losses. I was reviewing it all in Ruby's office when the first real threat came. Your father's hired a pie, Ruby said, dropping a file on her desk. They're digging into every contract, every deal, every client. Let them dig. I sipped my coffee. It's all legal. It's not about legal anymore. Ruby leaned forward. They'll twist anything, poison every relationship. Your father's already calling our clients. That made me pause. Which ones? All of them. He's claiming your success is built on stolen family connections, on his reputation. I laughed, hollow even to my own ears. His reputation's in ruins, doesn't matter. Doubt spreads fast, and in luxury marketing, doubt is deadly. My phone buzzed again. Mrs. Wolf, having dinner with your mother. She's not well. Maybe it's time to end this. I deleted the message. Sloane, Ruby said softly. Does it feel as good as you thought it would? Before I could answer, the office door slammed open. Wyatt stormed in, looking worse than ever. Happy now, he threw a newspaper onto Ruby's desk. On the front page, our parents leaving bankruptcy court. Mom can't leave the house. Dad's drinking. This what you wanted? I stood slowly. What I wanted was a family who didn't treat me like a failure. What I wanted was my trust fund. What I wanted was revenge, Wyatt cut in. Well, Congratulations, he spat the words. You got it. We're ruined. You ruined yourselves, maybe. He ran a hand through his messy hair. But you didn't have to destroy everything, like you destroyed my future. That money was supposed to help the family by covering your gambling addiction. He flinched. I'm getting help. Too little, too late. At least I'm trying. He slammed his hand on the desk. What's your excuse? When does this end, Sloan? When we're all completely broken. Ruby cleared her throat. Maybe I should give you to some space. No, I snapped. He's leaving. Fine. Wyatt headed for the door, then turned back. But remember this, sis. You're not just hurting Mom and Dad, you're hurting yourself, too. I see it in your eyes. This revenge isn't filling the emptiness, it's making it worse. After he left, Ruby touched my arm. He might have a point. Don't. I pulled away. They deserve everything coming to them. Do they, or are you still that little girl desperate for their approval? I don't need their approval anymore. No. She pulled up our latest sales figures. Then why do you keep checking if they've noticed your success? Why watch their social media? Why? My phone rang. Cecilia, your father just filed a lawsuit. Emotional distress, defamation, and corporate espionage. Corporate what? I grabbed my laptop. Based on what? He claims you used his business contacts without permission, that you built your company on his name. That's ridiculous. I built everything myself, I know. But he's demanding a full audit of your company's early years, meeting, every introduction, every deal. I felt the blood drain from my face. Not because he could prove anything, but because the audit would reveal how hard I'd worked alone. How many doors slammed in my face because I refused to use the family name. Let him try, I said, but my voice shook. After hanging up, I found Ruby watching me. Don't say it, I warned. Wasn't going to. She gathered her things, but maybe, ask yourself what hurts more, that they never believed in you, or that even now, they still won't admit they were wrong. I stared out the window at the Manhattan skyline. My empire stretched across those buildings, brands, high-end retailers. I built it all while they mocked me. My phone buzzed, an email from my mother. Please, sweetheart, we can fix this. Come home, as if that house had ever been home. I deleted the email, but my hands were shaking. Damn it, I whispered. Ruby squeezed my shoulder on her way out. The thing about revenge. Sloan, it usually costs more than the original wound. I caught my reflection in the window, wondering when I'd started looking as haunted as them. The courtroom was smaller than I imagined. My father sat across the aisle, suit wrinkled, face hollow. My mother wasn't there. Mrs. Wolfe said she rarely left her sister's house now, medicated for anxiety. Wyatt slumped in the back row, shadows under his eyes. All rise, the bailiff called. Ruby squeezed my hand before taking her seat. Cecilia laid out her papers, expression grim. You're sure about this? She whispered. We could still settle. No. I straightened my spine. Let's finish it. The judge glanced at the complaints, then nodded to my father's lawyer. What followed was a character assassination dressed as legal argument. They painted me as a manipulative daughter who stole family contacts, betrayed trust, and destroyed her own family's finances. Then they brought the so-called evidence. Your Honor, the lawyer said, holding up a document, proof she used her father's business contacts to land early clients. Objection, Cecilia stood. Those weren't his contacts. They chose her company based on merit. Oh, the lawyer smiled coldly. Then explain this email. She mentions her father's name. Read the full email, please, Cecilia countered. The complete message appeared on screen. My words, from 8 years ago. While my father is known in financial circles, I'm building this company independently. My success or failure will be my own. A murmur spread through the courtroom. I saw my father shift in his seat. And the trust fund? The judge asked. Cecilia laid out the forged documents, unauthorized transfers, Your Honor, with falsified signatures. My father suddenly stood. It was for the family. Everything I did was for this family. Mr. Bennett, sit down, the judge warned. No. He pointed at me. She twisted everything. She let us believe we were safe, while she plotted to destroy us. You destroyed yourselves, I said, standing to. I just stopped enabling it. Enabling, he laughed bitterly. You're my daughter. Family takes care of family. Like you took care of me. Cecilia tugged at my sleeve, warning me to stop. I ignored her. Let's talk about family, about every time you dismissed my work. Every time you mocked my ambitions. Every time you stole from my future to cover his debts. I pointed at Wyatt. Order, the judge banged her gavel. You want the truth. I pressed on. Show them the account records. Cecilia, the numbers flashed on screen, transfer after transfer, each authorized by forged signatures. And here, Cecilia said, highlighting another section, the gambling debts covered by those stolen funds. And here, she highlighted again, the luxury purchases. Enough. My father's face turned purple. You ungrateful, ungrateful. I laughed. I built an empire while you were spending it. I succeeded despite you, not because of you. And now you're suing me because I finally stopped funding your delusions. Both of you, sit down, the judge thundered, gavel slamming down. This is a courtroom, not family therapy. But something broke open. Years of silence spilled out. Tell them, Dad. Tell them what you really thought of my little hobby. What you said every time I succeeded, that it wasn't real work, that it wasn't respectable, that Wyatt was the only one with a real future. I was trying to protect you. From what? Success, independence, self-respect, from failure, he shouted. From the humiliation of what? Being more successful than you. Silence. My father seemed to shrink, aging years in seconds. Your Honor, Cecilia said quietly, we have proof: trust fund, theft, gambling cover-ups, financial fraud. We're not just defending this suit. We're filing counter. The judge reviewed the documents, face hard. Mr. Bennett, I advise you to withdraw your suit unless you'd like to discuss these irregularities with the district attorney. My father slumped. His lawyer whispered frantically. Case dismissed, the judge declared. And Mr. Bennett, a criminal defense attorney, as people filed out, Wyatt caught my eye. Was it worth it? He asked softly, burning everything down. I looked at our father, broken and defeated. Ask me tomorrow, I said. Ruby appeared beside me. Come on, let's go. But as we left the courthouse, victory felt nothing like I imagined. The moving truck pulled away from my brownstone. Ruby helped me carry the last box inside. Autumn leaves scattered across the steps like the last embers of revenge. Nice place, she said, setting down the box. Different from the old neighborhood. That's the point. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Mom, a text from Wyatt. Dad took a plea deal, probation and restitution. Mom's asking about you. You gonna call them back? Ruby asked, reading over my shoulder. Eventually, I stood at the window, watching strangers pass along the quiet street. No pretense. Just life. Honest and simple. The doorbell rang. Xander Wolf stood there with a bottle of wine. Housewarming, he explained, stepping inside. Though I suspect you own better vintages, it's not about the price anymore. We sat on moving boxes, in the kitchen. How are they really? I asked. Xander thought for a moment. Your father's humbled, working as a financial consultant. Legitimately. This time, your mother's in therapy, and Wyatt, he smiled faintly. He's actually going to his Gamblers Anonymous meetings. Good for them. I meant it, surprising myself. They're learning to live within their means, Xander added. It's not pretty, but it's honest. Like that courtroom. Ruby poured the wine. My phone buzzed. An email from Cecilia. Your father wants to set up a repayment plan for the trust fund. Small amounts, but steady. He seems sincere. Are you going to accept? Ruby asked. I don't need the money. That's not why he's offering, Xander said. Sometimes repayment means more than money. The doorbell rang again. Mrs. Wolf, holding a small package. Found this while helping your mother pack. She wanted you to have it. Inside, a framed photo I'd never seen. Me, at 16, hunched over my first laptop, building my first website. On the back, my mother's handwriting. Sloane's first website. So focused, just like her father used to be. She kept this, I whispered. She kept a lot of things, Mrs. Wolf said gently. Pride's a hard thing to swallow for all of you. Another text from Wyatt. Remember when you helped me with my science fair project, before everything got so messed up? I missed that, sister. Ruby spoke softly. Revenge shows you who you are. The question is, do you like what you see? I looked around my kitchen. No marble countertops, no crystal glasses, just honest materials and morning lights. On my laptop, a notification popped up, another luxury brand wanting to partner with my company. Success built on merit. I don't regret exposing the truth, I said finally. But maybe there's room for a different kind of truth now. I typed, Mom, the house on Cedar Street, The small one you said had potential, it's for sale. In your budget. Just saying. Her reply came fast. Really, would you look at it with me? I showed Ruby the message. Is this a mistake? Depends, she said. Are you doing it to control them or to help them? I don't know yet. Then that's your answer, Xander said. You're asking better questions now. I typed, Saturday morning. But we're taking my car, and afterward, coffee. I have things to tell you. About my real company. Mom's reply, I'd like that. I have things to tell you too. I'm sorry it took losing everything to finally listen. Mrs. Wolf raised her glass. 2 new foundations. 2 honest success, Ruby added. 2 real families, Xander said. I looked at the photo. That focused teenage girl who just wanted to build something of her own. She did it, but at what cost? Maybe now it was time to build something else. Something harder than an empire. More valuable than revenge. To truth, I said, raising my glass. All of it. Even the parts that hurt. My phone buzzed again. Wyatt. Dad asked if you'd considered lunch someday. No agenda. Just lunch. I smiled, feeling the weight of revenge finally lift. Tell him I know a place. Nothing fancy. Just real food. Real talk. After all, I didn't believe in forgiveness. But maybe, just maybe, I believed in starting.